Welcome back to Mind Over Movies. I'm Isaac.
I'm Casey.
And today, pretty predictably, we're going to be talking about some movies. we really like to spice it up every week.
If you come to this podcast thinking we're going to talk about anything else, we're not.
Nope.
No.
Well, speaking of movies, Casey, have you seen some?
Oh my God. Dude, I've actually seen so many the past week. I was doing like an average of like watching 2 movies a day. Like I'm not even...
What? Really?
I know. So I've watched so many that I can't possibly talk about all of them.
14 if I'm taking you at your word.
Actually, it was closer to 10, actually. It's about 10 movies the past week.
Liar. He didn't watch 2 a day. Make a note of that.
No, so I think I'm just going to tell you about the 2... standouts and an honorable mention.
Okay.
I didn't per se watch any bad movies, but there were 2 standouts, I think.
All right.
Pretty great. I'm going to go ahead and just drive straight in. Netflix original, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore.
Oh, I've heard that's good. That's with Elijah Wood,
yes,
right?
Yes, so good. I recommend everybody watch that movie. There is nothing that just makes me mad about it. Like, I just had a very good experience watching it. There's attention to detail in there. The level of that is just absolutely amazing. And you'll understand if you watch. Like, they really care about this film. The ending is great. Has a very satisfying ending. The characters are honestly the greatest thing to like about it. And it's really I don't know. It's just a great movie. It's like the movie that everybody should watch right now, honestly.
I feel that. I think that came out the same year as The End of the Effing World on Netflix.
Yeah, what was that, 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch it. Who does... Do you know who directs it?
I do not know. I could look it up, but the time it would take me might stale.
Gotcha.
But no, it's definitely good. I looked up the director. I just can't think of their name at the moment. But and I can't think of the lead actress's name either. But she was super good in it.
Is it? Oh, totally. Sophie, edit this out if I'm wrong. Is it Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Maybe.
I don't know.
I feel like it's someone like that.
I don't know.
Real Ramona Flower vibes.
You know what? Hey, Sophie, look that up real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back. Sophie has told me that 2017 was the actual year it came out. The director is... She wrote this down for me. Macon. I'm just going to say Mason. I don't know... When you read it, it looks like Macon.
That could be a Macon.
It could be Macon. Macon Mason Blair.
Macon's making some movies.
Right? And it was Melanie Linsky. Melanie Linsky was the main actress.
Oh, okay. Wow, I don't know her.
I mean, yeah, I think she's relatively new in the scene,
Okay, hey.
But, yeah, and Elijah Wood was awesome in the movie. But, and the other standout film that I saw was The Assistant. Came out last year.
I've also heard of this. This has Ruth from Ozark, I think is the main character.
Oh, dude, it was just like... It's a very slower movie. Like, you can't really say anything in the movie happens. It's the day in the life of an assistant to a big top producer, like a production company.
Like a Harvey Weinstein type, right?
Yeah, because there's like some like sexual abuse going on in the... or I guess not necessarily sexual abuse. It's sexual like misconduct in the workplace. And she's just struggling with that while the whole film she's doing these mundane tasks that really don't mean anything in the grand scheme of film, production. It's just so like she's making, like, at one point she's just copying scripts and then she goes and hands them to people. The men in the workplace kind of treat her as lesser, and it's just like more like I wouldn't call it a character study. I'd call it a job study almost. It's really interesting. But even though it was slow and it's only an hour and a half, I didn't really feel the slowness. Like, I knew, like, I'm like, there's a couple points I was like, nothing's happening. But at the same time, I'm like so engaged because I'm like, what is going to happen next? And it's just really well acted, directed. I don't know. I just really liked it. And I've
heard some and I mean, predictably on the internet, anytime you talk about something as touchy as sexual assault, you're going to get a bunch of insensitive, like, nerds that speak up and are like, this is SJW nonsense. But I've definitely heard that a lot of people went in with the expectation that it was going to be more of a thriller, and that it's a much slower and more subtle movie than that. Like, would you say that the subtlety might be too much for some people, or do you think that works to the movie's strengths?
Honestly, I think it works to its strengths, and I think I'm not gonna say anybody can enjoy the movie. I mean, it's not any type art house thing. Like, it's just so subtle. But I agree, the trailer was edited to look like a thriller, and in a way, the movie, like, it's kind of like, if you like really like see what's going on, you're like, okay, this kind of is a thriller. Mm-hmm. But while nothing like, you know, thriller-esque happens in the film, you're like, this is a pretty, you know, effed up situation that she's in, just with, and all she did was take the job. And it's kind of crazy. There's a couple scenes in particular where I was like, is this about to blow up? But it doesn't. And that's kind of the film's message, is because it could lead to here, and they could go into like thriller territory and explore this. They don't, because they're trying to keep it realistic and be like, this is what happens like every day. Like,
I think
it's interesting.
I think that sounds really brilliant about it, because in a lot of these sexual harassment cases, you know, it's not this very pronounced, like, outright evil behavior, you know, like with Kevin Spacey's case, and a lot of people, like, it sounds like, you know, there was a lot of grooming and slow acts and just like little bits of dehumanization going on, and it sounds like that's the vibe of this movie. Like, at one point, this isn't like too big of a spoiler, I don't think, and I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how it fits in, but I hear that she goes to get like her coworker's panties, and like that's the extent of like what you see on that end. Like, she has to just go retrieve them, and like she has no business doing that. Like, if she's being taken seriously in her job, like, she wouldn't be doing that.
Definitely.
Like, that's the level we're talking about this at, just like that little dehumanization.
And there's even like there's a small scene, again, no spoilers for this, but there's a small scene where she has to she's scrubbing the couch in his office, and she's having to clean up the floors. And then in a later scene, they're talking about like, oh, don't sit on that couch. Like, there's a bunch of executives that they know never to sit on the couch. And that realization, you're like, man.
You can tell why people on the internet are mad about it. You know, it's too subtle for them. You can't pick that up, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to say it outright. That sounds like a great movie. What's the honorable mention?
Oh yeah, I do have an honorable mention. It's Olivia Wilde is in this movie, and it came out pretty under the radar, but I thought it was and Luke watched it with me, and he thought it was great too.
Oh, okay.
This is another really subtle movie, not for everybody, but it's called A Vigilante.
That sounds like some Batman stuff right off the bat.
I know. No, but it's super. It's just an abrupt movie. It's pretty quiet, a pretty quiet, still movie. But then when she gets violent, like, it's jarring and it's very abrasive. And I appreciate that type of filmmaking. I just think it's fun to watch. And the lowdown is she's a victim of domestic abuse, and she uses this like will and her like drive to help other women in need, and she like learns like basic like self-defense, but then uses it to on the offense, and beats up basically abusers and stuff. And it's just a really cool, contained hour and 30 minutes of just Olivia Wilde being a badass, and I really liked it. So
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
that sounds really good. All your picks
I know.
Really good. I watched
Hold on.
I wasn't as good as you. I only watched 2 movies this last week. It was Thanksgiving, the work and the holidays or whatever. But one of the ones that I watched actually just came out this year. It's called Feels Good Man. Have you heard of this?
I think I've heard of it, but I don't even know what it's about.
So it's about Pepe the Frog. It's about how the creator made him. It was originally just a cartoon comic strip, and how like over the years it's been stolen, this character, and it's been used by the alt-right and extremified to this like terrible. It's a hate symbol. It's classified as a hate symbol right now. Pepe the Frog is. And the documentary talks all about that, how, the creator absolutely hates that and things that he's doing now to combat it. And it was really interesting. One of the things I liked about it the most is, even though it's a documentary, they actually have animated segments in the movie with the character Pepe the Frog and stuff, and it actually totally adds to the vibe of the movie. Like,
really?
It's not obnoxious at all, or it's stylization for the sake of being heavily stylized. It's just like, it really flows well with the movie, and I don't even want to call it a documentary. It's more like just this like weird like experience of seeing this character like kind of tainted by the outside world, and it was probably one of the better movies I've seen this year. I mean,
really?
we don't have a lot of 2020 movies to work with, but
not.
This is up there.
Okay, I'll definitely have to check it out, because I do remember seeing the trailer for that when it came out, and I wanted to see it, but then I didn't hear anything about it again. So, where did you watch it at?
I watched it on Amazon.
Gotcha.
It's available to rent there.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure that there's any other way to watch it right now. But I definitely recommend checking it out. And then I only watched one other movie. I watched on VHS though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a real street rep. My dad and I watched it. Training Day.
Yes.
I'd never seen it before, but it had been hyped up to me. David Ayers wrote it, the Suicide Squad guy.
Dude, I know.
Bright.
I know.
Like, both movies I hate vehemently. So
yeah.
So I didn't know like what to expect, because people really love Training Day, and I was very curious to see it. And it's good.
Dude. I watched it a couple years ago, and I loved it. I think it's really good.
I think that it all kind of hinges on whether you dig what Denzel Washington is doing with this like cop character that you can't quite tell if he's like just a terrible corrupt cop, or if he's like in a deep cover. Like at one point he's like driving and he's trying to get Ethan Hawke to smoke like contraband, and Ethan Hawke's like, no, I won't do it, and he like swerves into the middle of an intersection, stops the car, points a gun at Ethan Hawke's head, and it's like, smoke that weed, man, or I'm gonna put this bullet in your brain. And like they're just like chilling there. It's really funny, but like I think he does sell it. Like I don't think it ever gets too over the top. I mean, there are like a couple parts where you think, oh, I'm not gonna be into it anymore, and then he shows up again. And you're like, oh my god, this works for me somehow.
Definitely. That's a testament to Denzel Washington, though. Honestly.
And honestly, the script, I liked it because you're watching the movie and you don't really know if there's going to be some kind of twist the whole time. Like, if there's going to be this twist that Denzel is actually, like, a pretty good cop. And he's just, like, rough, or, like, maybe there's more complicated layers to the story. And it's almost, like, satisfying when there isn't. And you just see that he is this terrible, like, person. You're like, oh my god, I feel just like Ethan Hawke. I kept trying to see the good in this guy, and that blinded me to the fact that there is none. And speaking on that, the expectation of a twist or a plot twist, the nature of plot twists in film in general is kind of what we wanted to get into today.
Oh, heck yeah.
Would you like to take the lead on that,
totally. We wanted to talk about plot twists today, because plot twists are very interesting, and they're also one of the best ways for a movie to be remembered by. In my opinion, I think if a movie has a plot twist in it, even if it's bad, you're going to remember it, because you're sitting in the movie theater and all of a sudden the story's flipped on its head. Which brings me to, I need to get out there what a plot twist technically actually is, and then I'm going to relate it to M. Night Shyamalan, because that name is basically pretty much synonymous with the word plot twist. He is known as the king of plot twists, the master, whatever. But a plot twist is obviously not just for films. It's a literary technique to completely diverge the path that the narrative is taking. It doesn't really, plot twists are not necessarily confined to one genre. They work well with a handful of genres, but they can pretty much be in any movie. And there's probably some plot twists that maybe you're like, that movie didn't have a plot twist, but it actually did, because it just means that the narrative, the story as you know it, has just been, I like to use the term, it's just turned on its heels. A completely new direction, or maybe not necessarily a new direction, but just a wealth of information dumped on you that completely changes how you're looking at the movie or how the characters are seeing their situation. And M. Night Shyamalan, I can't think of a movie where he doesn't include some sort of plot twist.
I mean, it's because the man made his whole career off of one plot twist.
Yeah, well, it was
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. I was about to say, I couldn't remember if Sixth Sense or Signs came first.
Yeah, Sixth Sense was the first one that he got big off of. I mean, if we're not counting Stuart Little, which is also written by M. Night Shyamalan.
I forget that he wrote that.
It unfortunately doesn't have any game-changing plot twist, which is maybe why, even though they came out in the same year, only The Sixth Sense got nominated for Best Picture and stuff like that. Stuart Little got
okay, listen up, Academy. Stuart Little got snubbed. Okay, nah, I'm kidding. But yeah, definitely. But when people think of plot twists, they normally think of like M. Night Shyamalan. That's the guy that does plot twists. Well, he actually has stated that he has no interest in the technique of doing plot twists. He just happens to write a lot of thrillers, and thrillers tend to have a revelation or big reveal in them. So I guess his mindset is, if you're going to reveal something, it better not be what the audience already thinks it is, because there's the audience, if they guess what it is, then something's sort of lost in their interest. They'll just be like, oh, I could have wrote this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he strives to do, is completely just out of nowhere, just throw them off guard and then catch their attention again for his final third act. But while he made his forewarning, I'm gonna try not to talk about too many spoilers from newer movies.
Okay, that's a good call.
But to be fair, spoiler warning. Okay,
Yeah.
So if we're talking about a movie you haven't seen, talking spoilers, go ahead and skip ahead.
I reckon we'll give a warning as to which movie it is.
Right.
Whenever we start talking about it, we'll be like, spoilers for this. You can skip right ahead.
Yeah,
on that part.
definitely. But yeah, so let's just start off. The Sixth Sense. Great plot twist, honestly.
Honestly, I mean, what really aids it is that it's a very engaging thriller up to that point. That is a movie that is entirely not dependent on its plot twist, but on rewatching, it only goes up from knowing that plot twist is there at the end. Like,
yeah.
I hate spoilers for Sixth Sense, but this is on a t-shirt now. Bruce Willis is dead the whole time.
Yeah.
And you find that out in that like great scene at the end. He's just like reminiscing like about the dinner with his wife.
Yeah.
Like, why hasn't she been connecting with me lately? Like, she's acting like I'm not there. What?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I can't believe, like, when I watched the first time when it happened, I was like, what? How did I not see this coming? And it's because the script is written so well to where you just the range of information that you're given, and it kind of subtly, like, hints. It doesn't. What I think works so good about it is, for example, when he's shot in the beginning, all we see is his wife rushing to him, and then immediately the next scene is he's talking with the kid, and then he goes home and his wife's not talking to him, and you're like, something happened between him getting shot and that something's happened, and we'll figure it out.
You think like it gives you that red herring. You're like, oh, she must just be mad at him because he endangered their lives by bringing this psychopathic like client to their house and risking everything. And like from our perspective, they both survived the event, no harm done, right? I mean, the guy's dead, but
definitely,
other than that,
yeah. I think that's so. What I also think is so great about it is because it's if you think about it, like, it's thriller, but it teeters on the line of a horror movie in the first hour and 10 minutes, and then that final 30 minutes or so, or actually final was it 10 or 20 minutes that
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, this was like pretty much a drama, a supernatural drama the entire time, and it's great. I mean, he got everything to work for him in that movie.
It's really like something that I don't think he's replicated.
Yes.
Since. I think that Unbreakable is probably the best movie he's done since Sixth Sense, and that was the one he did right after.
Right. Yeah.
And that's very cool because back when he made Unbreakable, which is a superhero movie, you know, there weren't as many. You know, the market wasn't saturated with them yet, and it was very interesting to see that twist come at the end of the movie because we don't typically associate the superhero narrative with like plot twists. You know, they're usually pretty straightforward stories. Good guy fights bad guy. Maybe his morals are tested in there, but usually comes out on top. And to have that like gut punch of Samuel L. Jackson being the bad guy the whole time, orchestrating all that stuff, it's smooth, but it's not the Sixth Sense, you know? And you can tell he says that he's never chased that, but something kind of tells me
definitely.
He thought that's what equaled critical acclaim because, I mean, he tries it in The Village. He tries it in Lady in the Water. He tries it in The Happening.
Yeah. And the Visit, which is got mixed opinions on that, but
The Visit was okay, I guess.
Nobody talks about The Visit. That's
Nobody
the thing.
talks about The Visit. At the time, it was like, oh, he's coming back, man. He's like, he's really doing it. And then no one talks about it anymore. And Split became the movie that people were like, oh, he's really coming back. And honestly, I think that's a much better example. But I think it's also because he wrote it at the same time he wrote Unbreakable. That's why the Split script is so good.
Yeah.
And Glass, which just came out in 2019, is a piece of dog turd.
That's I'm glad you mentioned Split and Glass because, I mean, night and day, right?
Yeah.
Split, I think was really, it's what I was hoping for. I was like, oh, a return to form. Because in a sense, that very ending scene is the plot twist of the movie. It's, I guess you could call it technically like a meta plot twist almost. Because he's basically saying, haha, this is an indirect sequel to Unbreakable. It's like everybody's been asking for all these years.
Yeah, for reference, for people who haven't seen Split or Unbreakable, Unbreakable is this really great superhero movie with the twist at the end.
Yeah.
Split is this like seemingly unrelated thriller about a man with split personality disorder. And then at the very last second of the movie, Bruce Willis walks in. You're like, oh crap!
Yeah,
it's a sequel to Unbreakable. It's a superhero movie again.
Right.
We're back on.
Yeah, and there was. I remember I was when I saw Split, I had not seen Unbreakable yet.
Oh, so it was probably just confusing.
It was so confusing, and at the end, I was like, "Whoa, what?" And then I was with my friends, and they started freaking out. They were like, "Oh yes, oh this is so cool!" And so I had to look it up, and I was like, oh my god, that's super cool. So I went and watched Unbreakable. Then I was super hyped for Glass. And can I just say, like, that he did a double whammy plot twist in that movie, and both of them just sucked. Like, what was the first one being the how
it's like how they're all like going crazy and they're in the ward, like is that no you're talking about when Mr. Glass like starts moving around. What are you thinking about?
So I'm thinking of basically the reveal that these people are basically there, that superheroes have always existed, and this organization has been there to keep them in check, and they know their weaknesses. Yeah. Okay, that's the first one. And I don't know why, because the movie was headed one way the entire time, and then when that happened, I was sort of like, it feels like it's slowing down because you know what's going to happen. And then they tease this big fight at a building. There's like, it's superhero. He has to have his final big fight. It has to be in public and everywhere. So I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be the most action in this series that we've had. And they're going to do like a very public fight. But no, they just, and spoiler warning, skip ahead. They all just die. The organization kills all of them. Which I don't know. I didn't like that at all.
I think that the problem is, unlike back in the early days when he would do the good old plot twist and it would maybe help the plot along, it's this obsession that's come into modern movies where it's the subversion of like genre.
Right.
And I mean, that's what he's going for when at the start of Glass, it seems like your standard superhero affair, like what you probably imagined the movie was going to be. Bruce Willis is like tracking down the split personality guy. I think his name's Kevin. And they like fight, they duke it out. And then Sarah Paulson and her crew show up, knock them out, and they're in a mental ward for the rest of the movie. And already that's just the subversion of what you would think this movie would do, which is, to just have this standard like action sequence filled movie with like a couple satisfying character moments in there, but instead it's like maybe doubt that the characters are credible. And so what's a little frustrating about the finale is we get back on track onto that superhero narrative. Yeah. But he subverts, and he's like, it's not about them even, it's about inspiring hope in people.
See, that's I don't know.
But if he wanted it to be optimistic, you don't drown your beloved main character of this trilogy in a puddle.
I know,
they just like, they're so brutal and they just kill him like that, you know?
It's very maddening to the point where even Samuel L. Jackson's death to me was undeserved, at least in the way that it happened. I was just kind of left with thinking, did he hate these characters? Like, I don't know. So, like, I guess necessarily it's hard to distinguish plot twists from subverting expectations, which that recently that term has been thrown around a lot with the whole Rian Johnson fiasco. But subverting expectations and a plot twist are kind of go hand in hand, but they're just a little bit different. And I think he didn't do either of those well in Glass, while he did them very well in few of his previous films. And I don't know, he's coming out with a new movie called Old. I've been
Old?
Oh, it's called Old. Yeah, it's another thriller. You should see the poster for it. It's super weird. I know. It's coming out spring or summer 2021.
Okay.
I'm hoping. I'm so very hoping that he's gonna blow us away with this one, because I like the dude. I think he's a half decent director.
When he's talking about movies, especially, he seems very passionate and like his process is very cool. It's just it's unfortunate that so many of the movies he makes are like dog turd. Man, it's bad.
What crushed me was I saw it. It was like it was an interview or something. There was like a quote that they had in the article that when he started seeing the reviews for Glass, he just started crying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like, I mean, if you think about it, that's his baby since 2000. That was good. This is his conclusion to his only trilogy he has, and the reviews just sucked. And he said he broke down crying, and he was so disappointed in himself, and that makes me feel bad. But I'm like, oh.
You did not do a very good job, though. It's hard to not tell you the truth, man.
Yeah.
And it feels bad. There's people you want to root for like that. I think Kevin Smith is another one of those people where it's very interesting to watch him talk about movies. And then you see a movie that he's made, and it's usually pretty terrible. Like, the only one I've seen is Tusk. So I haven't seen, like, Clerks era Kevin Smith, but
I watched Clerks last night.
Is it good?
I think it's good.
Like, it seems funny.
The acting... No, the greatest thing about Clerks is the script and the dialogue. It's totally funny. The acting, they're all non-professional actors, and they kind of just, like, phone it in. But the dialogue, it's a very funny movie, and the script is very, very good. So, yeah.
I'll probably end up checking out Clerks.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I just can't shake the feeling that in M. Night Shyamalan's movies, and in a lot of movies that we get these days, the expectation of including a plot twist has kind of harmed a lot of movies. And I'm like wondering what you think about this, because it seems like, especially in a lot of Disney movies these days, it's always got to be a surprise that the villain is really a villain. Like, I don't know why in Incredibles 2 they felt the need to have like the Catherine Keener's character be a surprise bad guy. Like, you don't need that at all. Like,
definitely. I remember specifically calling that very early in the movie, and then when it happened, I thought it was going to subvert my expectations from that, but it didn't. And no, it's just meaningless. Just for the sake of having that plot twist, I think, just so audiences will, I don't know, wow and amazement. I don't know.
I think when the plot twist is done the worst way possible, it's like it sets you up with the easiest red herring in the world. Like in Incredibles 2, it's like Bob Odenkirk's character. He has like a motive that you would think would be like, oh, I want to fight superheroes, or you don't trust him. He seems like a slimy guy.
Right.
And then, of course, it's his sister because she's been kind of schmoozing it up with Mrs. Incredible and stuff. And this is the case in a lot of movies, is like they set you up with this red herring that no one actually goes for, and they clap themselves on the back whenever they reveal that the red herring was in fact a red herring, and the audience is like, we already knew that.
Right.
And I also think that at its worst, a plot twist makes a movie not fun to rewatch.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm going to say something a bit controversial.
Okay.
And you tell me if you agree with this. I think The Usual Suspects is a bad movie because you watch it one time and that's the only time you're going to get any thrill out of it, because the story just is not interesting once you know the twist. Like, I watched it for the second time last year, and I mean, it's well directed, which I hate to say because Bryan Singer is an
awful person.
Awful person. He belongs in a movie like The Assistant.
Right.
But man knew how to direct, and it was written by, who's that guy that does like the Mission Impossible movies these days? Brian something.
I'll look it up. Continue.
But he wrote the script, and that was like his claim to fame too, is that Usual Suspects ends in a plot twist. But the unfortunate thing is, like, you watch the movie again, and spoilers for The Usual Suspects.
Yes, spoilers.
And once you know Kevin Spacey is actually the bad guy, like, most of the scenes don't have any stakes. You see Kaiser Soze right there. You're like, there he is. I'm not scared of him because I already know it's Kevin Spacey and he's doing all the murders, like, off screen. And it's like, it's not even that satisfying when you get to the plot twist again once you know it, because you're like, oh, okay, this is like the one iconic part of the movie. Do you hear any other part of Usual Suspects get quoted or like remembered?
The two most quoted lines that I hear from The Usual... Actually, I'll put it this way. The two scenes that I remember the most from The Usual Suspects is obviously the Kaiser Soze when he talks about going in and killing the children and the wife and killing everybody. That story, because the flashbacks in like this ugly amber hue.
You're remembering it for a different reason than probably most people do.
But I remember that scene, and then I remember the end when it's revealed and he's walking, because the movie, oh God, the first Scary Movie, it ends with what's that character? He was like the dumb one in the entire movie, and he acted just like he had one brain cell, and then when he's walking, he straightens his walk, does the whole thing.
Yeah, verbal and Usual Suspects. I've not seen Scary Movie 1.
Okay, well, they do the same thing as like the end of The Usual Suspects. So that's the scene I remember. It's the scene everybody remembers. But I have to kind of agree with you. But I would argue that The Usual Suspects is pretty good for two viewings. I think if you watch it the first time and you don't know, and you figure out at the end, and
it's
then you
pretty
watch
cool.
it. Yeah, it is
when you don't know.
But then if you watch it a second time and you know who it is the whole time, then you can just kind of watch how he acts and kind of like, oh, well, that really meant that, or he, I don't know, just seeing like how he acts. But then after that, then I guess the plot twist is pretty much worthless for rewatchability.
When I think of like my favorite movies with plot twists to watch, I think of movies that are enhanced by it, and I think probably one of my favorite examples of that is Fight Club.
Okay,
The twist in Fight Club is that, Brad Pitt is Edward Norton's imaginary friend. In the whole movie, you think he's a real person. And I just think that it's so cool to go back and rewatch that movie, and it totally makes sense, and it adds to it, and it adds to this theme of like you're not special and you have to make this idealized version of yourself to like live the reality that a lot of people want to achieve. Like it adds to the movie's themes. I don't know what a plot twist like Usual Suspects does for the movie. Yeah, I think it just shocks the audience. It gives them, it's the same as like a jump scare. You know, you're startled when a jump scare happens, but there's like not a lasting impact of that jump scare. Like if a loud noise were to play right now, you know, for a moment it would be frightening, but you would forget about it later, you know?
True.
Like it wouldn't have any lasting value. And I think that a lot of plot twists are just like that. And I think some of our most famous examples, like Usual Suspects, like they commit that crime of just having like cheap shock value. Almost.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree. And on the same note of something, a plot twist enhancing the film, what movie I think does this brilliantly? Arrival.
Yeah.
Arrival has a great plot twist that you could never see coming if you're just a first-time viewer. And it is so great. And going back and rewatching that movie, I mean, knowing the plot twist has no bearing on... Oh, I mean, it does, but it doesn't, like, bother you. It doesn't stale the movie is what I'm saying. It enhances it. And you're watching it again, you're like, oh, you know, this is so, like, finely written. It's great. And Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors. And he directed that movie beautifully, I might add. But, yeah, definitely, that twist is great.
I think that Denis is one of those directors that knows when to include a twist and when not to. Mm-hmm. I think Blade Runner 2049, spoilers for that too, like has that element where like it'll lead you on with a lot of points where you would expect a twist, kind of how Training Day did, but then it doesn't like actually go into that twist that you think it would. It subverts your expectations in a good way. And I think that he's like such a master at that. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't... I think sometimes the plot twist is like used only as a source of like a big reveal. And sometimes it's nice to have no big reveal at all.
Definitely.
I mean, to be subverted in that way and realize, oh, it really is how it seems here. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to return to form there. Because I feel like too many movies these days are so obsessed with big reveals.
Definitely.
Like every Star Wars movie, you go to the theater and you know now that you got to get some like familial relation that is a huge reveal. Definitely. Apparently it's a formula now, you know? Like even like at the start of Force Awakens, Snoke's like, your father, Han Solo. And it's like, whoa! But like you can't keep doing that because only so many people can be related before this gets old. I mean, that's why when Rise of Skywalker comes out, this is the Rise of Skywalker hate podcast.
Definitely.
When Rise of Skywalker comes out and it's just like, Palpatine is your grandpa. Like they're really stretching it.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I agree. It's and I think honestly, here's something interesting. Because I do have a couple more movies I really want to talk about with plot twists, but I have to go. We have to go down this rabbit hole real quick.
Yeah.
Freaking J.J. Abrams, man, and his mystery box storytelling. His films do very, very well at the box office. And he has this way of telling the story. And for those who don't know, the mystery box way of storytelling, he teaches it in his TED Talks to universities and shit. But basically how he writes a script is he writes it with questions all throughout. It's how he did Super 8. It's how he did even Star Trek Into Darkness is how that's how he did that, which I thought Into Darkness worked great. I love that movie, but
really,
I know you probably hate it.
Vehement Star Trek fan, I do not like Into Darkness, but I like Super 8 quite a lot. I really like Super 8. I think that might. I don't want to say this and get blasted for it later. I think it's a better version of E.T.
What?
Yeah.
Boy, okay, hold up. Okay, sorry.
I haven't seen E.T. in a while, but I think that, J.J. Abrams really hits that, like, Spielberg vibe with Super 8. It's so good.
But J.J. Abrams markets nostalgia for people, so all he's doing, while it feels like E.T., that's because it basically is E.T. He worships Spielberg, practically, and he's taking elements from E.T. and from the Goonies.
It's not just about that for me. It's like... It's that fact that he gets that, like, nostalgia of being a kid. Like, and this is not what Spielberg was going for in E.T. Like, he wasn't trying to, like, make you remember what it was like to be a kid.
Well, no,
He's
definitely
trying to tell
not,
a story
no.
of wonder. And I don't think it's fair to say that they're the same movie.
Oh, no, well, no, definitely not.
Which I think it's what it sounded like when I said that Super 8 is a better E.T. I just really love Super 8. It's like, remember what it was like to be young and pure and, like, have
running around with a camera.
And then also remember Spielberg. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's tastefully done. And I just think the exciting action part of Super 8 works in its favor.
Gotcha.
To keep it interesting. I mean, obviously we don't have the John Williams score. I don't know, man. This is if I got to take the L on this one thing, I'm just going to say I like Super 8 a little bit better than E.T.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Your reaction tells me it was not fine.
I know, it was not fine, but I understand what you're saying. E.T. is, well, we can get down another bit. That's a special movie to me. But either way.
It is a special film.
It is a very special.
It's a certified classic.
It's a certified classic. But no, but J.J. Abrams with his story box approach, asking all these questions, and he says, if you tell somebody what's in the box, that's less intriguing than wondering than not telling them what's in the box. And this comes back to bite him so many times.
When it's time to pay up,
when it's time to pay up, it is hard. And I think that's why just I think that's, for me, his films fail, in my opinion. I think also it hurts the industry of screenwriters.
Yeah.
Because he's going around here giving that spiel about the mystery box. And while I'm not saying you shouldn't do the mystery box approach, maybe out there's a movie like that where actually I know there's a movie where it works, but it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, nobody really knows about it.
Oh, it's very
obscure.
Underrated. Yeah, obscure.
It's an obscure film called The Big Empty. We're gonna have to sit down and watch that one night because I'm telling you, bud. Either way, it doesn't work for a lot of movies, and I think it hinders audience's expectations of every other movie afterwards as well, especially after a big bombshell movie like The Force Awakens, where it leaves room for so much conversation. There's so much media traffic for that movie when it came out because everybody was asking questions like, what's the answer to this? What's the answer to this? And he did not pay up. Technically, he paid up, but with that example, with the sequel trilogy, there's a whole wave of crap that happened within that. But you see it so much, just movies striving to just hit you with the big punch, and it's not rewarding, not fulfilling at all.
It's starting to feel tired.
Yeah.
Like, just like how superhero movies feel oversaturated, and it's kind of hard for me to get excited for a new one. I'm just like, if a movie seems like it's setting up some, like, big reveal and it does it, I'm just like, was that even so satisfying? Do you feel like you did what you set out to do? Does this really enhance the movie? Like, I don't know. Most big reveals these days, I'm just like, they're eye rollers.
Really, yeah.
The art of the reveal has been kind of lost, or if not lost, tainted,
Definitely.
And I do think J.J. Abrams is a problem with that, because, God, like, his plot twists are not satisfying. And you said you love Into Darkness. I'll tell you what, Into Darkness's plot twist doesn't even make sense if you haven't even seen like older Star Trek movies.
Right.
Like, Benedict Cumberbatch is just like, I'm Khan. And if you think about it, to the characters in the movie, that name means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, Kirk and Spock in that movie have no idea what he's talking about. Like, why? In fact, other people wouldn't care. Like, it's just for the audience. It's a moment only to make the audience go, whoa. Right. And, like, you're cheating because in the movie that actually does not mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean a single thing to any of the characters except maybe old Spock, who's, like, hardly even in the movie because Leonard Nimoy is too busy, like, dying in real life. Rest in peace. I love you.
Rest in peace.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like so many movies will go all the way to get to that big reveal, and at the end of the day, it didn't mean jack to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it was just for the audience's sake.
For the audience, yeah.
Like,
definitely.
fan service has become the backbone of big reveals.
Right.
You know? Like, even Game of Thrones, like, beloved television shows are relying on fan theories coming true to be their big reveals rather than, like, actually setting up something themselves, or, you know?
Definitely.
Or, like, making stakes and reveals exciting for characters. What works so great about Luke learning that Darth Vader was his father is that, just like for the audience, it's shocking to Luke and he doesn't want to hear it, and appropriately he screams like, no, it's not true, it's impossible. Most big reveals these days wouldn't get like a peep out of a character. Like, someone will be like, by the way, my name is Nikolai Tesla. It's like, what?
They're like, so? And the audience is like,
I read about him in history one time, I guess. Is that the inventor of
electricity?
I mean...
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But to go to a lighter note, you know, we've been kind of bashing, but let's talk about plot twists that did it right.
Yeah.
That are memorable films. And
that aren't so bad.
Exactly. And let me tell you, bud, I got a banger to start off with. I don't know if you've seen this, but good old classic Alfred Hitchcock, 1940 Rebecca.
No, I haven't.
Bruh. I think, I might be wrong, cinephiles. Cinephiles in the YouTube comments, please let me know. But I am pretty sure that Rebecca is the film that got him noticed in the U.S., at least. Because that film was big. It won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Yes. That film has...
I've never heard of this.
That film has, like, 3 interwoven, like, plot twists within 1 or 2 scenes. And it's, like, so good. It is so good. It completely flips the movie on its head, changes in a new direction. But at the same time, you're like, whoa, that only enhances this story. And now I'm ready for this climactic third act. And let me tell you, the third act is absolutely crazy. The film is great, and its rewatchability is so high because the performances are so good, and the score is very haunting. It's just a great movie in general, but that plot twist, wow, it drives it home. And I think if Hitchcock, I don't think he did. People call him the master of suspense. I wouldn't call him the master of the plot twist, but when he does a twist in his films or subverts expectations, it's wildly amazing. So yeah, and I think also, if we're going for Hitchcock, pairing that up with Psycho, 1960s Psycho, that's another
just
great
like a
one.
famous
plot. Yeah,
that's a plot twist that outlives the movie a little bit. I mean, the
Definitely.
movie is still beloved by audiences, but like, people know that twist. I've never seen Psycho.
Really?
Confession of mine. But I do know the twist, you know, about Norman Bates's mother and how she's actually holding up. Yeah. Not too well.
Not too well. That revealing scene was so crazy that I watched it, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times after I finished the film. After that scene, I went on YouTube and just looked up that scene and just watched it 4, 5, 6 times. I mean, that scene is like perfect, and it's the reveal scene, and you're like, dude, like, of course. And I knew the twist too, but I hadn't seen Psycho until like a year ago, and I knew all about it. But going in that movie and then watching it and then seeing it, it was still like, this is amazing, and I would watch this movie 10 more times. He's great at that. Hitchcock is. Another, people argue, is the greatest screenplay, Chinatown.
Oh, yes. Chinatown's so good.
Chinatown is amazing. And I'm sorry, I have to talk about this. If you have not seen Chinatown, click off this podcast, go watch it, and then come back and listen, because spoilers for Chinatown.
It's some of the finest neo-noir you'll ever see.
All right, so spoilers ahead. You're warned. Okay. That ending is brilliant. And the script just holds it up so much. I can't, fathom, and honestly, partly, I have to give credit where credit's due. Jack Nicholson's performance is just only makes it better. Just in retrospect, they couldn't have cast anybody else for that role, honestly. I really do believe.
It's just like, I thought when you said that burr sound, you were going to say brutal.
Brutal,
because
yeah.
that is that movie. It's just like the plot twist of her being raped by her father, and that means she's my sister. She's my daughter.
Yeah.
She's my sister. She's my daughter. That's so brutal.
I know.
And it fits with the ending of the movie so well, because it's saying, in real life, the big man wins. Like, the rich guy walks away the big winner because he's got the resources to cover it all up and get away with it, and it's unfair.
Yeah, and he'll do it again.
Yeah, he'll do it again.
That's the sentiment at the end, is he's going to do it again.
And the sentiment also being, here in this place in Chinatown, that's just the way it is. Just forget it. Turn your brain off. Don't think about it anymore. And that's why I love the twists and turns in that movie, because they all, they give you this sense of unfairness, of an unjust system that the movie is totally going for. And it has a lot to say about how our society is run. We give special privileges to the rich and to the powerful.
Yeah, definitely. So the other thing about Chinatown, it kind of has it's a double-edged sword. Chinatown is, which it's so brilliant. The screenwriter, which kill me, hang me, please. I forgot his name. Who wrote the screenplay?
Was it Polanski writing it, or did he just direct it?
I know Roman Polanski directed it. Either way, in the script though, the screenwriter, when they were dumping the water and then buying up the land, that was a real thing that happened. Yeah, and it was called the Rape of the Owens Valley. I think it was Owens Valley. It was the Rape of something Valley. But that is the same, that's a double-edged sword with the other story that's going on. The background, or the B plot of the movie, and the A plot, which actually turn out to be sort of the same plot, both have this, symbolism of sexual abuse. And it's just a perfect, I don't know, just Robert Towne, that's his name, that wrote the screenplay. But it's, I can see why it's looked at so much, and just picked apart in film school, and basically by film critics everywhere. It's a great movie.
In that bit of historical fiction, it's so good because, in your traditional movie, you'd think he's gonna put a stop to this. They're dumping water, and it's shady. We gotta quit this.
Putting it under dead people's names, that's not right.
But that's just the mastery of the movie. Is it has that hold on you where you think that history might be defied there. Yeah, and then it isn't. It's definitely the same result, but you should have figured that out, because that's the way it happened in history, and you should have known that the girl was never going to get away in that car, because that's just the way it hasn't happened in real life either, that just the underdog doesn't win like that. And it's brutal, but that's just what the movie's there to say. Robert Towne gets that across so well.
Forget about it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Iconic.
Single greatest ending line ever.
And people don't even know the context anymore. They just know that line. But when you know the context, it's just even better.
Even better, yeah.
So good.
Yeah, because I read about when I in college, we had to look at some scenes from Chinatown, and they would always be like, and this scene feeds into that last line. Forget about it, Jake. It's Chinatown. And I'm like, what is so great about that? Like, yeah, it's dramatic. And then I watched it, and just the weight of it is so good. And I was like, okay, I get it now. I totally get it. This is a masterpiece.
Bleakest ending ever, maybe.
I think, honestly, yeah. Like, it's very bleak and brutal movie. But if you haven't seen it, please go watch Chinatown.
Yeah.
You'll do yourself a favor, honestly. Jack Nicholson's in it. He's great. Just the whole movie's great.
You listen to some of the spoilers, you dummy, but,
Yeah.
go catch it.
Go catch it. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, really, that's just my thoughts on... those are my thoughts on plot twists.
Yeah, I think that, when done well, a plot twist is a really great way to improve your narrative and make it exciting for audiences to want to rewatch your movie.
Make it remembered.
Yeah, remembered and endlessly rewatchable, because you can be like, it makes sense in the context of the movie. And at worst, it's there because it feels like some kind of contractual obligation to be there. And I would like to see that kind of plot twist fade away,
Definitely.
And kind of on a closing note, it does seem like we're getting back to that point. Thrillers are kind of returning to being more suspense-fueled rather than twist-driven, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard the movie Run is a really good example of just like a solid thriller. This director did that movie a couple years ago, Searching.
Yeah, which super good. Mm-hmm. Love that movie.
And that was also a really good example of this, because it's a thriller where it's not necessarily like all about the twists. It's just about like, God, what's going on with John Cho's kid? Like, what stuff has she been up to? It's gradual reveals. You're just in the dark. Mm-hmm. Just like the character is. And that movie works so well. Like I was saying earlier, it sucks when twists don't mean anything to a character.
Right.
And that movie, Searching, I guess this is just an ad for Searching now. Go watch it.
Yeah, true.
But in that movie, everything he learns about his daughter, it's just like so earth-shattering to him. It hurts him, and so it hurts you. And you just care so much about the narrative. And I just want that to return,
Same, yeah.
Make character stakes involved with the twists.
Yeah, I agree. I think it comes down to writing as a plot twist is in writing. It's a literary technique, and the writing has got to get better for plot twists to work for audiences and to have a memorable movie like The Sixth Sense, like Unbreakable, like Rebecca or Chinatown, like or even honestly, even Training Day, like it doesn't really have a plot twist, but I think the twist for me was that he's not good at all.
Yeah, no, there's not an ounce of good cop in this guy.
No, and I think that needs to definitely return before we can get more memorable things like that. And God bless him, M. Night Shyamalan. I really love the man, and I wish him well. I miss him. But he's got to step it. I wouldn't even say step it. I don't want to encourage him to step it up. But just a return to form. Like you were saying, really.
Right. Like, simple movies aren't bad,
Definitely not.
If it's simple, it works sometimes. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't have to write a huge explanation to make your movie work. Your movie should do the work for itself.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, these big, grandiose, totally, changing the genre of the film when it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. That stuff, that's no other... There's not movies that did that. They're just doing that, and they're bad. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but that's our soapbox, I guess. Or that's
our... we don't have really a clear point because it's a more nuanced issue than just
definitely
a plot twist good or plot twist bad, but I don't know. I feel like I've gotten some stuff off my chest.
Same. I think I've lifted a weight off my shoulders of this literary technique being used for worse in recent years.
Well, before we go, I do want to mention that I have been deceased the whole time, and I am Casey's dad.
Dad.
This has been Mind Over Movies.